nice to have you today to talk about blood.
Yeah, how are
I'm good, thank you. So I did not expect that ending. I will share that.
you? Good. Yes.
I anticipated something different, but this was a better outcome, I think, although it was not, you know, not the also expected. But anyhow,
Yeah.
so what was it about the story that made you not also be a director, but also executive producer?
I really just responded to uh the sort of family emotional component of the story. I mean, the fact that it was about a mother who was really a struggling single mom trying to raise her kids. On top of that, adding the kind of genre element of it, kind of vampire story. But what I liked most about it was the fact that it didn't play out all the vampire kind of tropes in the usual way. It's really more about mother, what the lengths that a mother would go to kind of to protect and 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 her child. Like that aspect of it I found very moving, and I mean, the horror element of it is fun, but the emotional kind of core of it is really about that relationship, and that to me was really unique and fresh. So I think that kind of what drew me to the project initially.
I'm also curious about picking the perfect Owen because that character is one of those where everything happens to him, but yeah, he has this innocent face.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, you want a kid who feels like a normal, regular old 11-year-old kid, like um kind of an innocent look to him, because of what's going to happen to him and where he's going to go and the things he's going to do. You don't want to kind of like telegraph that. I think we were lucky to get this guy Finn who played that role. I mean, we cast all over the United States and Canada looking for young, boys who could pull that off and keep the kind of, again, the kind of emotional connection to his mother, but also play something that's kind of creepy and a little unsettling. Um, that's always that balance, right? You find that balance between a character who can be both endearing and charming, but also terrifying. That was always the challenge. Particularly when you're dealing with children, because you got to always find that you don't want him to go too far with it. So, but yeah, I that kid was good, and and similarly with his sister Tyler, played by Skylar Morgan, lovely young actress. Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact too that it wasn't a big cast. It's really about this small family and um, just their tribulations of trying to survive what they're going through, and it's not like it really focuses on the granular details of what it is to be a single mom raising two kids in a small farmhouse, and what should happen if one of your kids gets sick. I
Mhm.
kind of originally read it as like a medical drama, really, a medical drama about a kid who develops a craving for blood. Now we call that vampirism, but in a medical way, it's just about a kid who has this bizarre condition and he's dying. And what would you do as a parent, as a mother, to save that child? And that's kind of at the core of the story.
But in this case, the mother is also a little conflicted because she has her past where she gets judged and she's under pressure, right? You,
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. And Michelle, who plays the role, really responded to the fact that she's not the perfect mother. She's had her failings in the past. So it's almost like this particular dilemma, this drama, she's almost has to step up even more than another person would, because of her flaw, her weaknesses. And in some ways it's a story, not to get too you know deep reading into it, but it's a story about addiction. Like she's the person who is struggling with addiction herself, and now her son has this addiction, yet she has to try to wean him off of it, and at the same time not fall prey to it herself. So there's all those kind of dramatic dilemmas that for her character that I know that Michelle really got excited about, because it's always fun to play that, right? And then, like, as a filmmaker, for me, just finding the parallels between a story about a vampire, essentially. I mean, if that's the technical term for it, someone who drinks blood, but also about, how the reality of what you would do if your child suddenly said, the only way I can survive is by drinking human blood. Like, what would you do? What would you do as a parent? And she obviously goes to great lengths that she would never probably normally go to keep him alive. And like, and it's kind of moving in a way. I found, as horrific as it is, and as horrible as the things she has to do as a parent, and I'm a parent myself, often you think about, like, nothing would stop me from doing what I have to do to protect my kid. You know what I mean? Even if it meant, like, maybe doing harm to someone else, I mean, that's the kind of crazy thing that she's in the story, which I think is, again, more interesting to me than the kind of usual horror film tropes, like sucking blood and all that. But there's a little of that in there too. So
Now let's talk. I want to compliment your work when it comes to the character of Tyler, as how we see his character develop as the time goes by. He becomes like a stronger, I guess, vampire, we can say. And I noticed that when it was the scenes with the mom, it's like he had this different persona, this different face, these eyes. And then, but when the sister, like we could see this other side of him, like more dark. Like it's like he knew who he was, he had to manipulate in a way, or am I just looking too much into it?
no, I think that's kind of that's part of what's interesting about the story, is that you're sort of forced to kind of figure out what his agenda is. Is he the manipulation he'll go through in order to get what he needs, and in the end, even attacking his own sister in order to get his fill of blood. I mean, that's the horror of it. Or his own mother. You know what I mean? Like, the idea is he's sort of more or less descending into some kind of creature. He's becoming something else. He's transforming slowly over time from a normal kid to a kid who's essentially a monster. And like, the way he deals with his mother is, in the end, it's ultimately just like, well, as long as you just keep giving me the blood, everything's cool. Stop giving me the blood, and I might have to do things to you and my sister and anyone else. So that creates another level of dilemma for him. But yeah, I thought, like, yeah, he was good at turning on the creepiness when it needed to be turned on. And then with his mother being all kind of like needy and like, help me, mom, I need you to, I'm hungry, help me. Appealing to her maternal instincts, and then she gave in. So yeah, he had to be like any 11-year-old kid who just wants shit from his mom, and like, and he'll do whatever he's got to do to manipulate his parents to get it, even if it's something as terrifying as like human blood. So yeah, that's interesting.
And we can say no animals were harmed, right?
No, no animals were harmed. In fact, the blood wasn't real blood. We didn't kill anything to get the blood. It was all fake. Yeah, no animals were harmed in the making. No dogs were harmed. In fact, the dog was the hero of the set. He was with us all the time. We loved that dog. Yeah, no, of course not. We were
So what
as
did you
always.
use for blood?
Huh?
What did you use for blood?
It's interesting because usually, if you don't have to drink it, which is usually the case, it's just like a kind of a gross mixture of gelatin and sometimes like a sugary syrup and food coloring. This time he had to drink it, the kid, right? So we went through some efforts to try to create a drinkable blood that also looked sort of real, and he wouldn't just like get completely grossed out by it. So it was basically just sort of like a sugary, like almost like if you took Caro syrup and added blood food coloring to it, so you could drink it. It was still really sweet and kind of gross, but he could at least suck it down a little bit without getting completely grossed out and sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did spend some time trying to create the perfect drinkable blood. Um, that wouldn't disgust everyone on the set.
Right. Yeah, definitely passing on the blood diet for sure over here.